And sorry, it starts the recording there, so I'm going to stop real quick.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. On behalf of the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, the Administration for Community Living, and the Indian Health Service, I would like to welcome everyone to the Long-Term Services and Supports webinar series. My name is Sherry Gay, and I work for Kaufman and Associates. I'll be your moderator today. Today's webinar is titled Culture Change in Long-Term Care. Before we begin, I would like to highlight the main features of your Zoom webinar interface. First, the presentation slides will appear in the main window, while the speaker will appear in the top corner. At the bottom of your screen is the menu bar. Here you will find the chat, raise hand, Q&A, and closed caption functions. Please use the chat box to report any technical issues you are experiencing. We will respond to these concerns as they come in. Next to the chat box is the raise hand feature. You're able to use this during the Q&A segment to let us know when you'd like to unmute your mic so you can ask a question. Another way you're able to submit questions is in the Q&A box itself, where you can leave your questions at any point during the webinar for presenters to address during the Q&A segment at the end. Lastly, live captioning is available for today's broadcast. Simply click the CC icon to use this feature. Please be aware that today's webinar is being recorded and that the recording will be made available online in the near future on cms.gov. With that said, I would like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. Please note this webinar series is supported by a contract awarded by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this webinar are those of the presenters and do not necessarily represent the official position or policies of the Department of Health and Human Services for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. I would like to introduce today's facilitator, Tammy Reed from Morningstar Care Center, and our panelists, Tamira Higgins and Melissa Martinez, who are both from Laguna Rainbow Elderly Care Center, Agnes Sweetster from Yukon Koyuka Elder Assisted Living Facility, and Kelly Vasquez from Morningstar Care Center. Tammy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sherry. Hello, my name is Tammy Reed. I'm the administrator at Morningstar Care Center, which is owned by the Eastern Shoshone Tribe in Fort Washakie, Wyoming. I'm happy to be your facilitator today. I would like to give you a little brief history about Unite, which I have been a founding member of since our inception in 2014. This webinar is part of our Unite series that we partner with KAI. Unite stands for Uniting Nursing Homes and Tribal Excellence. We are a collaborative platform for tribal nursing homes, assisted living, long-term services and supports, and the disabled. Our goal is to establish best practices and build relationships nationwide with identified stakeholders. We are a nonprofit organization comprised of Alaska and Hawaiian natives, Native American nursing homes, and assisted living. We advocate for tribal elders and tribal disabled members. Our collaborative goal is to improve the quality of life of elders through the implementation of evidence-based practices and culturally relevant education and training. We are a resource to help others across Indian country. We invite you to join Unite, and we are excited for our future. I want to thank our presenters today. We really appreciate them sharing their valuable time and their knowledge with us. Our first question we open up today is the history of culture change in long-term care Tamara, could you please start us off with this topic?
Yes, definitely. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting myself and Melissa to speak about this topic. We definitely utilize the CMS area for our long-term care elders. We work at Laguna Rainbow Elder Center, and we have many examples of how we incorporate the culture into our everyday workforce with our elders. All of our elders are Native American, and we do a lot of things. For example, we take our elders to local feasts, and which is really awesome that we're able to do that. A lot of our own staff are from the area here in Laguna, and they invite our elders in and feed them at their homes. A lot of our activities are are culturally based, and we have activities like school and sporting events. We have multi-generational programming.
Tamara,
Yes.
excuse me, you're fading out.
Oh, I apologize.
There you go. Thank you.
Sometimes the bandwidth here is not the greatest. Can you hear me better now?
I can. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Did you guys hear the first part?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so we get to do some really awesome things with our elders. I was going down our list of just some of the things we have done over the past month and what we plan to do. We had a deer dinner a couple months back, which was really awesome. We had a deer donated to the facility, and the elders were able to dress and pray with the deer. And we also have our holiday dinner hosted by the casino. We have had dance groups come in. Our facility every year also hosts a mini feast. We haven't been able to these past couple of years because of COVID. But now that restrictions are starting to loosen up, we look forward later this year to having a mini feast. We plan to also go fishing with our elders and have more outdoor activities. We also are working on getting hoop gardens, like a garden for our facility. Just yesterday, or excuse me, on Monday, we had a medicine man come to our facility and do a blessing. And so these are kind of the activities. Melissa, I don't know if you want to add anything else. I know we only have, just a little bit longer, but those are some of the things that we do with our elders to make it more culturally aware with their environment. And so it's been great to be able to work and learn and grow and do these for our Native American long-term care elders.
Melissa, do you have anything to add?
Hello, my name is Melissa Martinez, and I am also here at Laguna Rainbow. And a little bit on what Tamara was saying, just to build a little bit, we do celebrate a mini feast here. Our tribe is designated that each village has their own feast day. And so since a lot of the elders from the different local villages are there, we actually host what we call a mini feast, and we have the community come in and participate. We have dancers, we actually have vendors. Since COVID, we haven't been able to do this mini feast like it's an entirety with the community involvement. But as things are kind of opening up a little bit more, we're trying to see how we could get creatively and safely. Our tribe does have a lot more stricter restrictions than a lot of the other nursing homes, just because we have to embrace and also follow the local regulations within the tribe. And so That's why we've gotten a little bit creative with some of the activities to keep it going. We've really focused on outdoor type activities. We've been partnering with some of the local programs and the farmers for those hoop gardens and gardening. One thing left that I'd like to say is that we do focus on multi-generational programming. Pre-COVID, we had a lot of schools coming in and doing different activities with the elders. And so that's one of the things that we're looking to reopen up next school year, depending on the regulations. But thank you again. And I appreciate everybody listening a little bit of what we do at Laguna Rainbow.
Thank you, Melissa. Agnes? Agnes, do you want to give us your activities?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to take me off of mute.
That's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for joining us and thank you for inviting me to participate. I am the administrator for our assisted living home, elder assisted living home here in Galena, Alaska. It's in the interior. And we're 12 years old now. We are all Koikan Athabascans in this area. Everybody in our home is Koikan, although we have served people cared for, elders from other tribes and Caucasian people, we take anybody, but right now and most of the time we have 100% Athabascan residents and 100% local Athabascan caregivers. And when we first started our program, one of the first things that the board did was to adopt a mission statement that, and I will read it to you, honoring our elders by providing safe and loving care and a clean and culturally sensitive home. Embracing the values of respect, integrity, quality of life, compassion, and excellence. So that's kind of what drives everything that we do. Our diet is quite a bit just the traditional food here, which the elders absolutely love. We mix that up too. But that's a big part of their culture. They call it soul food or spiritual food. We do multi-generational activities, and so too, not so much during the pandemic, but we're getting back to that now. Having school kids in with programs or just to play games or listen to stories. Most of the young people in this area don't speak the language, but we do, try to learn like the simple words like thank you and, how are you, or, what do you need, for those elders that do speak the language as a way to respect and communicate with them. And we see this as just an extension of the home they came from, and we just become extended family to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly, can you share with us?
Hi, my name is Kelly Vasquez. I work at Morningstar Care Center. I am social services. We have incorporated culture change. We have a mixed variety of different tribes that live in our building. And we also have Caucasian people that live here. Some of our elders from the Eastern Shoshone tribe have helped us name our hallways in the Shoshone language. And then we also have the English language. And that's incorporating their language into our home, and they're teaching us. All of our elders are treated with dignity and respect and honored as the elders they are. We have gone away from the facility type language, and we've incorporated a home-like environment. So they are elders, we are care partners, and this is their home. We allow them to set it up the way that they would want it to be. We invite their families to do meals, activities. we've had to be a little creative with COVID. We just got done with our community elder awareness walk. That was a lot of fun. It brings out the children all the way up to elders, and we honor and respect our elders with the drum group. They come in and cedar our building quite often, and we allow the area for our elders that have that cultural belief of the doctoring with the Indian medicines, so that they can have a space to do that as well here. And we just allow the elders to make their individualized growth plans, and we follow them for their care.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So we have introduced the history of culture change in long-term care. And I will let this be opened to Tamara, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Tamara, can you start this conversation?
Yes. Yeah, so we feel that it's really important for culture change and tribal long-term care settings to incorporate their culture. The elders, we see it as we are working in their homes, and so we want it to be as homely for the elders. So that's why a lot of them were raised in this Native American culture and growing up with the foods and the traditions. And so we try our best every day to make sure we're incorporating that and they don't lose that kind of sense of home for them. And so that's why we have a lot of the traditional foods and feasts and things that they're comfortable and used to growing up with.
Thank you. Next slide. Melissa.
So just to kind of piggyback on what Tamara was talking about, for Laguna Rainbow, it was really easy to incorporate culture change because it was really founded to bring the elders back home. And so from a get-go, the mindset was a lot different than a traditional, per se, nursing home. And so its building blocks were really about culture change and really incorporating the local culture and Native American culture into the programming through just really the community. It's basically like a community-owned nursing home. And so it was honestly, it's really the backbone of Laguna Rainbow and what we represent. And so we didn't have to shift some of the other institutionalized basic practices because we were already ahead of the game in that culture change. Thank you.
Thank you. Agnes? You're on mute.
Sorry. Elders have a long history when they come to us and, you know, because we're culture bearers, the same that they are, we know a lot of that history. But that history also includes, you know, not only their work and what they do and if they went to school and where they went to school, but it includes their family and their culture. And many of our elders are of the boarding home era. And so they experienced abuse, some, you know, had positive experiences, but most all of them were not allowed to do things like speak their language or practice their culture, and you know, their diet certainly changed there too. So it's not uncommon for people to come into, you know, for us, assisted living, long-term care, to, like one elder put it, to finish the race, you know, with issues from that period of being ashamed of who they were as Native people. You know, they fought hard and still are fighting hard for their language, for their food, for their subsistence way of living. And a culturally sensitive home shows respect for who they are and provides for continuing to live a life of dignity. You know, to the very end. We're not only caring for their physical and medical needs, but we're also caring for them as whole human beings, caring for them culturally and spiritually, and partnering with their families to just let them live the life that they have always lived and are comfortable living and happy living. So, you know, I think that's why that matters, that they continue to live in dignity.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Kelly?
I think it's very important for the culture change to be in the tribal nursing homes. As Agnes just touched on, a lot of our elders come from the boarding school era, and we need to be able to meet their psychosocial needs and as well as give them a dignified existence. And many of our families come from multi-generational homes, and we want them to come here and feel comfortable and have their families feel comfortable being here with them. So it's very important to meet them where they are as individualized in their care and meeting all of their needs, including medical and psychosocial, and just bringing that to the community and honoring them. We do live in a small community, and it is nice to have the whole community support our elders.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Tamara, can you start our topic off of honoring death and dying with dignity?
Yes. So for honoring death and dying with dignity, we definitely honor this for our elders. It's been a unique situation. Typically, we would, when someone passes away, we have the tribe, the EMTs, the police, the family all come in for our residents. And what has happened is they get taken to a local hospital and then pronounced there. And the families kind of do whatever traditional doings they have to do with the residents. We also will not typically touch our resident rooms for 4 days and honor their wishes based off of which tribe or wherever they come from. And so that has been a unique thing that we do with our residents with death and dying with dignity.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Melissa.
Hello, so a little bit more of what we do out here. So our population is 100% Native American. We do not only just service Laguna tribal members, but a couple of other Pueblos and Navajo Nation. And each tribe does have their own beliefs and practices. Even within the Pueblo of Laguna, there's different in the villages practices. And so it's really a unique case by case, and it's really a person centered. Some of the different families do come in. We do accommodate those family members when they do. And after, like Tamara said, we don't touch those rooms for several days after. And then depending on, it's kind of what the residents and the families are. they how they practice, they do what we call feeding, and they go through their traditional doings and stuff. And so sometimes if they're more traditional, like I say in feeding, the families come in for several days. And so we do food offerings and stuff like that. We'll donate foods to those families. And then a lot of, for local members, a lot of our staff have grown up knowing some of these elders. And so there'll be a larger presence at some of those, you know, how they participate and do the after death inclusions and stuff. And so the families, the villages kind of come together and their community centers and stuff. And so we do have several staff members that do mourn when one of our elders is lost because they grew up in different capacities with them, or even just elders that we have because we've had them for so long, you know, they're like family to us. And so it really just depends on the person and how their family and their traditions, but we do respect and try to incorporate that for everybody person-centered. Thank you.
Thank you. Agnes?
Thank you. Did I unmute? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We try to, and for most of our elders, we have 5 wishes, and I don't know if, you know, people are familiar with that, but it's a tool that enables them to communicate what's important to them and how they want to be cared for in the end. It enables them to live their values to the end and to die with dignity. We learn who they want present, you know, what kind of music they want to hear, you know, when mosquitoes here, what kind of music they want to hear, things like that. And oftentimes we help them communicate their wishes to their families and start the preparation process for when they die, such as getting, you know, burial clothes ready. We allow family members to stay with them. We serve tea and food. Other residents are able to be supportive and say goodbye in their way. It's sometimes a really long process, and it gives people an opportunity to start the grieving process together within their cultural beliefs. When someone passes in our home, we take care of them to the very end. You know, one of us is always with them, with their family when they actually die. And we keep the body in our home until at least the next day. Because, you know, in our culture, we don't move them at night. And the staff will, you know, help the family, assist, you know, where they can to help them prepare the body, you know, bathe the body and dress them and everything for viewing. We do that all in our home. And before they're taken out of our home, we provide an opportunity for the residents that live there, their co-residents, to gather in prayer with the family and, you know, other individuals right in the home, because most of them are not going to be able to make it to a funeral. We potlatch. We have a funeral potlatch after someone dies and is buried. So we make sure that the elders are able to provide what they want to provide for the potlatch. For example, you know, maybe one of the elders was known for making fish ice cream or moosehead soup or goose soup or something. And we still make it possible for them to do that by helping them to fix whatever it is that they usually make, and we get it to the potlatch for them. We bring those that can go to the potlatch to the potlatch. And if they can't go to the potlatch, we make sure that there's a dish set out so that they could get, especially some of the really traditional special foods at the potlatch. And we bring that back home to where they're at so they can share in that meal and with the community in that manner. And after, one of the things that happened is a lot of our staff are actually related to the elders, but whether they are or not, the elders become grandma or grandpa or auntie or uncle. That's one of the ways of showing honor to elders, is to, elevate them to that status. And so when we lose an elder, and we may have had them for 5-6 years, and been through a lot with them, the staff has a really difficult time. So I don't, fill units really soon after people die, because I want to allow the staff and the residents to grieve. And when they're ready, and it usually takes a month or two, then we start accepting other residents. So it's something we usually, just leave their door open so that people can go into their room. The family comes in themselves, and we assist where we can, but we allow them to pack up the elders' things and move them. There's some cases when we have to do that ourselves, but most of the time the family takes care of that, and we allow that. So it's something that, we're, I think we're good at. We probably provide what they call hospice. It's very respectful, and really leads to dying with dignity and helping families to, start that process.
Thank you, Agnes. Kelly?
What we like to do here to honor our elders is when they start into the end of life process, we do meet with them and the families. We come up with what their wishes are. If they choose to go on hospice versus comfort care here, we allow them to make that choice. We open our doors, we try to move them so they don't have a roommate, and we allow the families to be there as much as they want to with them. We provide a comfort tray with drinks and snacks, and then they can also purchase meals if they're here. We allow them to do any of their cultural beliefs in the room and bring in the family. When the elder does pass, we contact the family and they lead us there if they would like to dress the body or have us do it. Then when the funeral home is here to take the body, we line up all of our staff and elders that want to participate, and we do a receiving line, and we play a song of the favorite song of the elders, and then allow the elder to go out the front door the way that they came in. And then the elders and the staff can offer their condolences to the family. And that has been really dignified passing. And I think that our elders really like, because they do become friends and family when they live in a long-term care, and they need that closure.
Thank you. Slide, please. Challenges incorporating culture change. Tamara, can you please start this subject out? Tamara?
Yes, sorry. I
That's
couldn't
okay.
find my unmute button. So for challenges in incorporating culture change, sometimes some of the challenges is either our resources, or COVID-19 pandemic has definitely been a huge challenge, and the restrictions, because our elders have been in isolation in the last couple of years for that. So the resources and COVID, those are two huge challenges we face sometimes with incorporating culture change.
Thank you. Melissa?
Hello. Some of the challenges with incorporating culture change is it does have to do with funding and sorts, basically funding to because we're rural and getting some of the staff. And so we definitely have workforce development challenges that we work through. And with that, basically, because we have to go through training sometimes more often, there's times where we have to get the new staff up to speed on some of that culture change and the differences and stuff, because like I said, we do have different tribal members from the different tribes that we do house at our facility, and every one of them is unique. And so some of the challenges is, you know, because we're so diverse in the different tribes that we have, you know, getting that education to our staff. And so that's one of our biggest challenges. Outside COVID, we work diligently with our emergency operations command, and that's honestly in the recent years been our most challenging structure, is because of all the restrictions with the normal type of culture changes that we've, you know, embrace and incorporate, basically because a lot of them involve community involvement, and because of those COVID restrictions, we've been somewhat cut off from the community in ways, and we're just getting back to the new normal and seeing how we could incorporate it. So it's almost like rebirth again in some of those culture changes, and learning to live with the new normal, because like I said, we're very community based. It's like we're owned by the community. We have community entities, even the local casino that comes in and does holiday dinners with the families and the elders here. And so our deer dinner that we have, it's really a community-based event. And so some of that's been our hardest challenge, is because we haven't been able to incorporate the community like we're used to. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Agnes?
The first challenge that we faced, I think, was for the leaders and staff to accept that we can do things differently, and we can do cultural things that, you know, it's okay for that to happen, and it needs to happen. We can eat the foods we grew up eating. We can invite people for dinner. Our grandchildren can still be a part of our lives. We can still teach them about the culture that has enabled us to survive for thousands of years. And for us to incorporate culture, it would be very difficult, if not impossible, if we did not have the relationships and partnerships with families and communities. That's where we get our traditional food, our recorded music, our artwork, social and emotional support for the elders, and help during the dying process. I know for other homes, family and community support is a big challenge in trying to incorporate culture in their homes. What really helps us too is the board adopting a philosophy, and I will quickly read it. We are an extension of the homes that the elders have been living in prior to their need for assisted living care and support. The staff is caring, joyful, helpful, and familiar with the culture that elders are from. They will ensure that the elders maintain a quality of life that enables them to continue to remain an active part of their families and community by providing compassionate, individualized, excellent care. We do not replace the elder's family, but become like extended family when an elder moves into their new home. We believe that elders deserve to continue to live on the river and as close to home as possible. Despite their conditions, they have value and purpose, and that they are an integral part of our families and communities. Elders are individual. I think it's really been beneficial for us to have a mission statement driven by values and guided by a philosophy statement that is communicated, posted, and revisited, and that defines how we provide the service we do. It's the common threads that hold us together so we can incorporate culture in our home.
Thank you. Kelly?
Some of the challenges that we have seen is really like empowering the elders, especially if they lived here prior to when we really started the culture change. They were so used to that schedule that allowing them to come out of that and be individualized, that was a real challenge. But I think we're getting there. And our staff, getting them trained. We do follow the Eden Alternative in our building. And so we allow the elders to lead all of the care, and older staff that have worked in facilities, that is a harder part to get them to come in and look at the culture change. But we get there, we do a lot of trainings, educating, and just making sure it's not a power struggle and that we're addressing all angles of the elders. And so I think it's going to be harder starting out, but I believe that it will get easier as we go along. COVID did throw a huge wrench in the culture change movement, but I think that now that we've adjusted to where we can still abide by the COVID guidelines and still allow the culture change to be at the forefront.
Thank you. Sherry, I will turn it over to you.
Wonderful. So this is the part of our presentation that will go to the questions. And we do have several in our question and answer in the chat. But if you haven't submitted any questions, this is the time to do so. And I will go ahead and start with the first one. And please, presenters, just jump in and answer the questions as you see appropriate. The first one is, how do you address end of life issues or hospice care? I am a clinical educator for hospice in my area and would love to be able to educate my staff to better care for this population.
Can anyone just answer?
I think, yes.
Yes.
I think just meeting with the families and talking to them about their cultural beliefs. I've had to learn a lot on the different tribes that we have here in our building. And then we have a really phenomenal funeral home that is located on the reservation. And they know the different tribes and the different guidelines. And I've worked with them to collaborate to be able to honor the elders in their life.
Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that of our presenters?
This is Agnes. We collaborate very closely with families and sometimes their friends, their church, and the health center. The health center provides for us a comfort care box, with medication and stuff that, we or the families can use to bring them more comfort. So it takes a real collaborative effort and preparing, like I say, by doing the 5 wishes with them in advance. That really is beneficial.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for those answers. Anyone else? Okay, what group is dedicated to sharing best practices in LTC? I don't see that Unite is dedicated to that. Did I mishear?
I can address that. I do feel like Unite is very dedicated to that. We've been working since 2014. We have members from across the United States, from tribally owned nursing homes, assisted livings. We call the different tribal owned facilities and assisted living quite frequently to try to gain membership. We meet, we have an annual meeting once a year. We've presented with Leading Age. We have presented with NICOA, trying to get information out there, offer resources, offer help, and best practices that we do in our own nursing homes as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tammy. Next question. I am also a leader on our Diversity and Inclusion Committee and strive to educate everyone on culturally competent care. I feel as if the Catawba Indian tribe, and I apologize, if I mispronounce that, Indian tribe is underserved in our area with hospice and palliative care both. This is amazing information I can incorporate in our facilities statewide if available.
Does anyone have anything to add to that?
Thank you.
Okay, next question. I practice in Alaska and would like to contact Agnes and Kelly. Could their email addresses be shared? Thank you.
Kelly or
Certainly.
Agnes, do you mind?
I don't mind sharing my
I don't mind.
email, but I'm in Wyoming. I'm not in Alaska.
Okay, wonderful. Go ahead and put your contact information in the chat, and they can contact you if necessary. How's that?
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Next question. Does the funding for the establishment of the facilities and the care come from the tribes?
Ours does not come from the tribe. We accept Medicaid and Medicare money.
And each of us are a little bit different depending on tribal structure. I'll let the other presenters speak on their own, but I know some of our Native nursing homes, the tribe helps fund some parts and they accept Medicaid and Medicare as well. Do the other presenters have anything else to share on that?
This is Agnes. We're an assisted living home, elder assisted living home, of course, and tribally owned. We get a significant amount from Medicaid, the Medicaid waiver program. We have a state grant and some other grants that we go after, but each tribe, we're owned by a consortium of 5 tribes, and each of those tribes gives money annually to us. And we have the Native corporations, they give us money, and some grants, some gifts. So it's, I think probably the tribal money makes it easier for us to do culturally things. So thank you.
This is Melissa for Laguna Rainbow. So we take Medicaid and Medicare. We're duly certified. We do oversee a senior center as well. Our tribe, we do get subsidized sometimes. It was kind of when the nursing home was put together and the corporation was put together, it was part of what was kind of set aside. And so it varies, but anytime if we truly need something to purchase or something, we do need help, we are able to turn to our tribe, and they've always provided. We're always, like, the elders are always taken care of, however it's funded, whether it's through our reserves with our Medicaid, Medicare revenue coming in, or our tribe subsidizes if needed.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful, thank you. The next 2 questions are pretty similar. They're extremely happy and felt it was amazing how the staff gets involved with the end of life care. But is there a way or a grief support for your staff after losing a resident that they may be close to?
This is Melissa again from Laguna Rainbow. So for grief support, it's a combination of different resources. We do work with some hospice companies that are able to provide some of that support. Our tribe also has Laguna Behavioral Health, and we're able to tap in their resources. And they don't have to be Laguna, it's anybody that's within the boundaries of the Pueblo of Laguna, whether it's just one of our workers might be commuting off the reservation, but they are able to come in and provide that support for them as well.
This is Kelly from Morningstar. We do have the hospice that will come in and visit with our staff. We have Eastern Shoshone Recovery. They also offer a grief group that I can provide that information to our staff with. And then my door is always open. They can come down and visit with me. We do have like the medicine men and the traditional medicine that come in and see to our building. And usually if we're having a death or our staff is struggling with that, we ask them to come in and see to our building and see to our staff and elders. And I think that seems to be working quite well.
Wonderful. So the next question, are some of these facilities tribally owned? Has the transitional period of traditional facilities been difficult? This is such excellent information and so happy to hear more traditions are being implemented.
This is Melissa Martinez. So Laguna Rainbow has always been tribally owned from the Pueblo of Laguna.
Morningstar has always been tribally owned as well.
Wonderful. And
our facility is tribally owned.
Perfect. And to piggyback on that question, if they're owned by the tribe, does the state still come in and do audits?
Yes, they do. We still have a full survey through the state, and we still have to answer to all CMS and CDC guidelines.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
With Laguna.
Okay, and then we just have two more. During the worst of the pandemic, when visitors were very restricted, were you able to keep the elders connected? Were you able to use technology, or is that problematic because of internet availability?
This is Kelly from Morningstar. We have a system that's called Never Too Late that has the ability for families to write emails, to do video calls, and to also upload pictures. And each elder has their own virtual account. And then our activities department can show them that. Also during the pandemic, we did parades and the families could drive through our parking lot, and some of them would drop off like balloons, flowers, and that way they could see their elders. We did a lot of window visits and outside visitation.
And we were able to use technology to keep elders connected in our home. You know, we had like birthday parties over Zoom. We had one for one of our elders who is blind, and about 14 of her family members attended the party, and she recognized their voices. It was absolutely beautiful. And some of the elders' relatives actually joined our staff so that they could remain more connected. And we encourage family members like to provide their traditional food, or, you know, to provide, you know, a cooked meal or something that was special to them, so that they could make that connection that way. It was definitely a challenge and definitely long, and we all got tired of it, but I think we did pretty good.
Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, I will go to our last question. What % of elders who need the care are you able to serve?
Morningstar is a 45-bed facility.
This is Agnes. I guess it depends on who determines the need for care. Sometimes elders need care, but they don't believe that they do. We always have a wait list. We have 11 beds, but we probably always have a wait list of about 10 people. Not all of them believe they need the care. Somebody believes they needed the care to get them on the wait list. But we definitely do get a lot of referrals from all over the state. Even, you know, from Alaska Natives who have been living outside to be able to come back to the river. But we're just only able to serve the people in this area right now because we are only 11 units with a plan to expand.
Okay, so I would like to thank Tammy, Tamara, Melissa, Agnes, and Kelly for joining us today and helping us better understand cultural change in long-term care. In closing, I would like to remind everyone that today's webinar was recorded and that the audio and presentation slides will be made available online at cms.gov. Thank you again for joining today's webinar. Our session is now concluded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.